Hello, and thank you for joining me today for this presentation about selling art online. This is a really timely subject. There's a lot of artists interested in doing it, and so I really want to jump into what's relevant today, why we need to know more about this topic, and how you can get started. So, my name is Carolyn Edlund, and I've actually been a self-employed artist. I had a production studio for 20 years. Sold my work in person and actually online as well in different markets. And so I'm bringing that experience as well as years of being a speaker, a writer, and a consultant in the art business industry. I've written 8 courses on art marketing, pricing, selling, portfolio development, and other topics. And so I'm really pleased to be with you today to go into this really important topic, and let's get started on it right now. We know that the market is changing, and we also know that the change is accelerating, and that's been brought to you courtesy of a couple of different factors that I call the great disruptors, and one of those is technology. So we knew that the market was changing anyway. This has been going on for years. Back in 1995, I remember starting my own website, and it was pretty clunky and pretty basic at that time. But even then, 25 years ago, we were looking at the revolution starting. And today, technology is always moving. It's always requiring that we stay up with it. And it's making vast changes, not only in the way we sell art, but even in the way that we make art. Technology is changing the way that you present your work, the way that you reach out to your collectors, the communication, the delivery of art sales. And so we've got to stay up with that. You must adapt to online marketing and sales, or otherwise you'll be invisible and your business is going to stagnate and potentially fail. We're going to be looking at some of those technological changes and why they matter. But the other big disruptor that's been happening is the coronavirus. And what this has done is it is put these changes on steroids. It means that artists must move, they must change, they've got to adapt, because what they're doing is they're losing their ways of making a living. And so this is also changing the industry as a whole, not only artists, but promoters, anyone who has a live event going on, anybody who's got a brick and mortar store or gallery is having to move and change and adapt, or they're going to be going out of business. So these are factors that have really increased the rate of change, and we're going to be looking at some factors and some statistics on that. So let's move on to a report that's been really relevant for the past 10 years or so. And we haven't seen the latest Hiscox online trade report come out, but I'm going to be looking at last year's report. We know that technology has exponentially changed the face of art sales. So we're looking at, back in 2018, a $4.64 billion dollars in art sales online. And since 2013, we can see how that's changed from 1.5 billion to 4.5 billion. And we're seeing a rapid expansion of that, even more than what was expected. And I would look towards future reports noting the coronavirus as an accelerant in this change. And so we'll look forward to that report. But some of the takeaways from the Hiscox report are that social media is a really important influencer, and it's overwhelmingly the channel where artists are being discovered, followed, and purchased from. Facebook is falling away as that channel of choice. I think it's just because of the way that Instagram works, the way that people can interact there, and it's the social media platform of choice, particularly for millennials. And I think that this is a very important factor for a lot of artists. You know, if we've been depending on the baby boomers or people who are middle aged to buy from us because they've got the ability to afford what we make, we know that those people, as they get older, are tending to downsize. They're not buying as much as they used to. And so a lot of artists are, you know, in the position where we're going to have to shift our focus to more of a millennial base. These are a different animal. These people buy differently. They think differently. They are confident in their own ability to make decisions about art. They don't walk into art galleries. They may not be approaching us as much as the older buyers are. And they're looking increasingly to an online venue to make decisions, to make purchases. They're more confident buying online because they've been experiencing more. They're brought up there that way. They are what we call digital natives. So we are looking at millennials buying more art online in the past 12 months. 79% said they had bought more than once. So this is a really important factor, is this this repeat buying practice and this behavior, because it is repeat sales and that really grow your business. Repeat business grows your business. And this is one of the things that artists can cultivate online more so than they can in person. Going to get into that later. When we look at the average price points, you know, what are people spending online? Now, the Hiscox online trade report, I will say, does primarily look at the high-end market. So they're looking at Sotheby's, you know, they're looking at the high-end markets, Christie's and so forth. That does trickle down to what the average self-employed artist is doing. And so it has implications for you. But we're looking at average price points in the $1,000 to $5,000 range, and that would primarily be for fine art. But that means that people are willing to put some serious money out there online. It's not the $100 range or the $50 range. Although those are popular price points, it's very possible for artists to sell higher end merchandise online, and that is an increasing trend. We also look at some of the surveys that Hiscox put out there, and they asked literally whose social media posts are most likely to influence your decision to buy a work by a particular artist. The answer is the artist themselves. That's you. So it's your communication. It is the relationship that they're building with you by interacting with you online, by seeing what you post, by looking at your work in progress. That's interesting them, that is drawing them in, and that is influencing them to make that purchase. So these are compelling reasons for artists to be in that space, to get online, and to start driving conversations and interacting with their fans, because it is that direct relationship that's super, super important here. So in the next slide here, you know, I'm looking at a hybrid approach to art sales. And I've got to tell you, for years, this has been what I recommend to artists overwhelmingly. I believe that you need to take at least a two-pronged approach to your art sales. You can't make it by just being at in-person events. Although they are the absolute best way to meet people, the absolute best way to look at art, I call it the gold standard. When someone can physically experience your art, they're looking at it in person, they're seeing every brush stroke, they can touch your work, they can try it on, they can shake your hand, speak to you as the artist, talk to you, you know, and get to know you. That's really a great way to build a relationship. It also is the most confident way to buy art, when they're taking it away physically from your booth or your space or your studio. Then they have made that transaction, they've got possession of the work, and that certainly is a very confident way to buy. It's not the only way to buy, but you know, I believe that artists need to keep in-person events, on their radar as, really primary ways to connect. But in these days, and, as we're seeing with our, the forced closure of shows and of physical brick and mortar spaces, we're really seeing that the online presence is starting to emerge as a very important complementary channel for artists and for galleries and for all store owners and all small business people. It supports those in-person sales. It complements by giving a 24/7 presence to how you can sell and how you can connect with artists. And it also adds lines of communication. So it's not just us speaking to people or making that phone call or inviting them to the show. It is letting us connect with social media. We can email them. We can chat with them if they're visiting our website. You can have those chats going on. So these are additional ways to connect. And the more that you connect with your buyers over time, the more you're going to draw them in. We know that the majority of sales are not made on first contact. Only about 5% of people are going to buy the first time they see your art, the first time they meet you. The majority of sales are made after numerous contacts. 80% of sales are made, I believe, after about 12 or 15 connections, contacts. So you're pulling that person back in over and over again. And it's that type of consistency of communication, of contacts, of pulling those people back to look at your work that is going to ultimately result in the sale. And again, it's those repeat sales that are going to grow your business. So we can see that online presence is helping us communicate. It's actually replacing live events when needed. And this is a super important point as well. Live events have been canceled. They have been postponed. And they're also going online. We're seeing some of the big markets, like Art Expo in New York, that is not happening this year. And instead, they're building an online marketplace, and their artists are uploading images of the work that would be in their booths, and they're literally selling online. In that particular marketplace, they're taking a commission. So that's one model. Other live festivals are showing their work online, and they're giving a page to each artist and then linking the website visitor out to the artist's own website for individual sales. So that's another model where that's kind of a referral from the event to the artists themselves. And so we're seeing this happening very rapidly. I've been personally involved in some of those models, and this just emphasizes how important it is for us to get up and running online in addition to being there in person. I can't tell you how many artists I've heard from who are saying, I've just had 6 shows canceled. What am I going to do? Well, you're going to replace that with your online presence, and that's going to be an ongoing complementary form of doing business. Now, I will admit that although we understand the need for selling online and how important it is, it's pretty scary. For a lot of people, it's confusing, it's frustrating, and it may be the last thing that you want to think about doing is getting involved on internet sales. But because we are at a point where this is a very strong option for artists, let's take a look at ways that you can sell online. And we're going to go through that in the rest of this presentation, look at some specifics, see how this can be done, and how you can actually make it happen without all that stress. 2 different options I'm going to talk about today are third-party platforms and selling through your own art website. Now, those are a little bit different concepts. I'm going to go through them separately. I want you to know that these are not mutually exclusive options. So you could do both. A lot of people start on a third-party platform and they work their way up to their own website. That you may already be selling in this way and potentially. So it might be something that you're somewhat familiar with. Let's take a look first at third-party platforms. And I've made a list here of some categories of these platforms. These sites have different business models for different purposes, which means you might want to use some of them. Other ones might be totally inappropriate for you. So let's just run down this real quick. And I've got some examples here, but certainly this is not a complete list. For you to look into this, I would suggest you go to wheretosellart.com. You'll see that URL here at the bottom of the screen. That is a comprehensive directory. That is a listing of over 250 places that artists can sell online with descriptions and links and full information. So you can make some choices by looking at that. So let's consider first online galleries. And these are sites where it's usually free for you to upload your images. You will typically be drop shipping to the purchaser, and they will take a commission. The next option I've got listed here are marketplace sites, and these are familiar to a lot of people. Etsy is a very popular one. It's been around for many years. Amazon Handmade is another one that's a big competitor with Etsy, and there are a lot of smaller marketplaces as well. Print on demand is a special type of site that will take your images and place them on other products. We're going to take a look at that a little more deeply as we go forward in this presentation, but these are their own sites, and you can have a mini shop on one of them and use that for the purpose of expanding your sales. Then to the trade. So if you sell to wholesale buyers, or maybe you sell to interior designers and architects, or you might license your art. These are portals that interact with those B2B or business-to-business buyers. Auction sites, these are sites that every day they're auctioning art off and they're going to the highest bidder. There may be a reserve price that you can set, and so they can be popular. Not all artists will want to be involved with them. Now I've got social media listed next, and that's because you can sell directly from social media sites such as Instagram, Facebook, Pinterest, and so forth. And you can sell through a direct message on those sites. You can make arrangements to have Instagram selling tool where you have a shopping cart on that site, or you can use other tools like Soldsy or Comment Sold, which interact with the platform and they provide a shopping cart. So there are a lot of ways to work this. Many sales are made on social media. It could be perfect for you. It might be something that you want to look into. Then there are commission sites, and these are specifically for commissions. So custom made, for example, if somebody wants to have a custom made engagement ring, or they are looking for someone to make a dining room table for them, they'll take bids from artists who have profiles on the sites, and they might hire you. Portraitee is one where you can have a portrait made. So there's specific sites for commissions. Others that are referral sites actually don't do e-commerce on their own platform, but they will have images, they'll have artist profile pages, and then they will have a website link where they're going to click through from that site to your own site, and you can close the sale. And then there are talent search sites as well. So if you're looking to get a gig, you want to be hired as an illustrator, you might want to check those out. All of these different categories and more are going to be itemized on that directory. So what are the benefits of working with a third-party platform? Well, there are quite a few, and it makes it super easy to get started. So a lot of beginners will do this, and they have an existing platform. It's already got this template. You can go there and within 20 minutes build a shop. So it's kind of an all-inclusive type of a package. A shopping cart is in there as well. It already functions. People know about these sites, so they trust them. They'll say, well, I'm going to go on Etsy and go and look for a scarf to buy or something. So they're trusted. They have traffic that comes to them already. However, keep in mind, they're not going to promote you. You have to promote yourself. So, but you're on a trusted site. You can just upload, plug in the information, plug in your images, and you're good to go. And a lot of times they're not very expensive to use. Many have free levels. And they also may offer POD or print on demand options. We're going to look at that a little bit later on. But they can be a good place to go. Some people love them. For others, it's not appropriate at all. But there are some drawbacks. And if you're working on a third-party platform exclusively, I would say consider what you're doing. It may not be your best option. I think of it in a way as building your house on rented land. So you don't have complete control. And when you give away that control, it could be a bad thing because they make the rules. If they decide that you're not following the Facebook rules, they can shut your page down, and all of those followers that you acquired over years are now gone. So you really don't control the platform, and you never will. And you've got to understand that it might be useful, but it may not be where you want to run your main business. They can have links that lead away to other vendors. This is something you'll see on Etsy a lot. So somebody's looking at your work, but there is a menu up top and they can just click another link and, oh, here's a quilt over here, and they're off looking at somebody else's store. So maybe you did a lot of work to pull them into your shopping site, and yet they can easily click away. So that may not be the best option. You may not want them to do that. They also have a certain look. They have a certain functionality. You're not going to be able to change the branding there. You can somewhat customize these platforms, but you're pretty much stuck with how they want to run things and what they offer. If that's okay with you, you can use it. They also keep the mailing list. I think this is super important, and artists who want to grow their businesses know that you've got to stay in touch with your customers. You've got to reach out to your prospects. You've got to be getting yourself in front of them over and over again, and that involves building a mailing list. But when you work on a third-party platform, they get the list, and they do not give it to you. So there's no way for you to capture email addresses of people who are on your shop on that platform. And that's very limiting. So some of these platforms also have built-in costs. And if they want to increase that cost, then they can, and you don't have control over that as well. And as I mentioned earlier, you've got to pull the customers into the platform. They're not going to do the marketing for you, so it's going to be up to you to connect and to draw people to the site regardless of where your platform is built, is where you're selling your art. Now let's look at some of the costs of these platforms, and some of them actually can be pretty inexpensive. As I mentioned, if it's a commission-only site, it's going to be free. So maybe they're taking the 30% commission on Saatchi art or something, but it's nothing except for your time involved in setting it up, which is attractive. We're looking at an image of Etsy right here. Etsy does have listing and advertising fees. You might have a monthly membership fee. Some of these sites even have an annual fee, and some of them are a little bit expensive. It's just going to depend on what you're looking for. So again, look at those individual listings and make a decision that works for you. We're looking at merchant services fees, and that's pretty standard. These are associated with using credit cards. They're going to run 2 to 3%, something like that, and often the artist is going to need to absorb them. And then, as I said, sales commissions, and those are going to vary depending on the site, so just take a look and see what the offer is. Now, I wanted to get more into print on demand, and so let's take a look at that. This particular screenshot is from Society 6, which is a print on demand site. It's pretty popular. They will show images that are uploaded, and they're going to basically Photoshop them onto templates. So right now we're looking at some pillows, and these are just mock-ups. And these are offerings, like these are for sale. You can buy them. They are not made yet. So these are just virtual products when they're seen. Print-on-demand providers have you upload your images, and you give them permission to print your images on a variety of products. So they might be pillows, they might be mugs, tote bags, cell phone cases, clothing, wall decor, note cards, all types of different products, and different print-on-demand sites have different products. So this allows you to expand your product line. Now all of a sudden you're selling shower curtains and you're selling clothing instead of just original art. And that could be good for some artists. It allows you to reach down usually into a lower price range, and so you can expand your customer base and offer them some things that you couldn't offer before. Now this is passive income because you're not the one doing the work. And as you know, he who does the work makes the money. So the print-on-demand provider is using your image to print on products that they've acquired. They're doing this in their own factory. They are shipping everything out to the customer. They're handling the order taking, the e-commerce, the customer service, the order fulfillment. Everything is being taken care of by them. And so they're going to get the lion's share of every sale. And that makes sense because they have a lot of costs involved. The artists themselves will receive either a royalty, which is a % of the sale, or some sites will have a set amount that an artist will make on a product. Let's move on at this point to having your own art website. And this is something that a lot of artists want to have. So let's take the mystery out of this and break it down. Why would you want to have your own art website? Well, there are a lot of benefits to this. And first of all, I think it is because it gives you credibility. Serious artists who are really in business want to draw customers to their site where they're looking at your brand, that this is only your site. They're not going to be looking at anyone else's art. You control it, you design it, you brand it, you can put as many pages on it as you want, and you can use your website to share your message, draw them in, give them reasons to buy, lead them through the sale, check them out through your own shopping cart functionality, and also get their email address as a subscriber so that you can stay in touch with them. You'll remember that not all customers are going to buy from you on the first contact, so you need to stay in touch with them. One of the things that I really love is that there are tools. These are website hosting companies that have templates that make it easy for artists to get up and running. Some of them are specifically for artists. FASO, that's Fine Art Studio Online, is one of those providers. Artspan's another. Art Storefronts is one. But there are many of them. Again, refer back to that where-to-sell-art.com directory, and you'll find a whole list in that category. And what I like about these providers is because they're specifically for artists, they're going to have functions that people want to look at art, in a room, or they want to expand the image. They can look more closely. Some of them have a little magnifying glass so they can go right down to the detail of your work. And they're specifically for artists. So those are nice options. But then there are other e-commerce providers like Shopify, which is a giant company. And anyone can set up on Shopify, Big Cartel, Wix. Those are big providers. They have a lot of functionality. They're going to interface with MailChimp. They're going to give you analytics. They're going to have a lot of tools and goodies on them. But they're really built for any type of a store. It could be a shoe store. It could be electronics that are sold on there. So that's totally up to you. These, all of these providers will allow you to brand your site to a large degree. And so that's really nice. They're templates. They're easy to set up. And you will have your own domain name. You will control the site. It's not being on a third-party site. These are just tools. Another option is to do it yourself with WordPress. WordPress is the #1 platform in the world to run a website off of. So I love it. I run a couple of WordPress sites myself. It's intuitive. You can work in the back end. You can really customize it to what you want. Or you could hire a developer, somebody who specializes in WordPress, or maybe they're going to custom code and build you out an amazing site that's going to be entirely built for you. It's going to be more expensive, but those are, that's another option. If you have the money to do it, it could be exactly what you want. So think about these different possibilities. The beauty of it is that so many people and so many artists have their own websites these days that it is not hard to do, and it's easy to find tools and providers to help you out. Now let's take a look next at the basics. What do you need on your art website that's going to help you sell? Well, you better make it customer focused because it's all about the shopper. When people come online and they're looking at things to buy, what they care about most is themselves and what they want. So you need to be speaking to them when you post information on your site. You need to make it easy to navigate. You need to make it intuitive. You need to allow the customer to go through the shopping and the checkout process so that it's easy and it leads them to the next step, and you're going to close the sale. You're going to want memorable branding. Why? Because your work is important. You're an artist who makes work that's significant, it's memorable, it's something that you want them to understand. Why is your art important? Why does it matter in the world? Why should they care about it? How does it connect to them? And you want them to come back and buy from you again, to recommend you to others, and so forth. Your website needs to have lots of information on it. Information is your friend. The more people know and understand, the more easily they're going to feel comfortable on the site and want to go through the buying process. Art is, of course, a visual medium, so we need a lot of pictures, a lot of visuals, so that they can understand the work better and so that they will feel like they're experiencing it more fully. You want your site to be easy to navigate. You want to include a subscriber opt-in form. This is going to capture an email address so that you can get back in touch with that person again. And I strongly recommend that you have links to your social media platforms so that they can click on that Instagram link and follow you on Instagram. That gives you yet another way to stay in touch with them so that they can see your work over time and it's presented to them in your stream. Next, we're going to drill down a little bit further and see how you as the artist running the website can enhance the customer's experience. Again, it is all about them. It is all about what they understand. It is all about what they want and moving them towards the sale. So you want to show outstanding images. If you make artwork, you want to give them a close look at the absolute best photographs you can, because they're not looking at it in person. They can only make a decision by what they see online. You want to give yourself the best advantage you can. In situ photos, and we see one right here, is a room view. This allows you as the artist to show the customer how big that piece of art is. How does it look in a room? Does it make a big statement? Is it something that's a focal point? Or is it a piece of art that's going to blend in with the decor and just be a nice decorative accent? In situ photos also includes models wearing clothing or jewelry. What does this look like online? How long does this necklace hang? That gives them visual cues and information so that they understand your work better. It's like virtually trying it on. Detail shots give them that up close and personal look. They can see every thumbprint, every brush stroke, the texture of what you make, and that also really helps them understand better. An FAQ page is something that a lot of artist websites don't have, but they really need. So what does the FAQ page tell them? These are the terms and policies of the sale. If I'm going to buy from you, how do you ship? How much is shipping? Can I return this? What credit cards do you take? Will you ship to a third party? How do I care for the art? all of these questions that people have and people need to know so that they can make that buying decision. I also really love to see testimonials on a site because that is another customer telling their experience, sharing their true opinion. And I would like to see a full first and last name on these. What do other people think? Why would they recommend your work? People tend to really like to see testimonials because that's going to make them feel a little more confident in making the purchase. You've got to have that shopping cart. I also want to see prices on your work. If you don't have prices on your work, you're not going to sell it. Nobody is going to call you up and find out how much something is. So put prices on your work, put your shopping cart together so that you can literally check them out. Trust badges are things that might say that this cart is approved, Better Business approved, and you'll see these different badges that show that it's official and that it's secure. And then guarantees. And this is the type of thing that says if you are not happy with your purchase, you get 7 days after purchase to make a return. And that gives them the confidence knowing that they're not stuck with it if they don't really want it. The truth is that very few people actually make returns. So I would encourage you to put that on your site and to be willing to take them if they're necessary. Now let's drill down a little bit farther. I want to be looking at a product level page here with you. And so I grabbed a screenshot off of Sundrop Jewelry. Tawny Reynolds is an artist who does a terrific job marketing and selling. And this is one of her product pages. You'll have a hierarchy of pages on a website. So you're going to go from a page of collections that might have a lot of products on it, and you click on one item and that will take you to the product page. It's going to have descriptions, it's going to have terms, and so forth. If you look at this page, you'll see that she has a price and a shopping cart button, add to cart right here, high tide kite earrings. Then she describes them. You'll see a paragraph or two that tell about these earrings, why they're wonderful, why you're going to wear them, that they're recycled, that they're going to arrive in a box with ribbon. And they even take you through a little story. Share some intrigue with a subtle swirling turquoise and green, reminiscent of the changing colors of the sea. People will take a second look, perfect for either a relaxed day at the beach or a spontaneous date night, and so light you'll hardly notice you're wearing them. So you can see in that kind of content, she's practically putting them in your hand and saying, these are yours. You're going to wear them. Here's where you're going to wear them. This is how much you're going to love them. Then she has some bullet points that have specifics. How long are they? They're eco-friendly, that these are made of sterling silver. They're comfortable to wear. They're handcrafted. All of these are called features and benefits. And so those are good to have. That's a quick list of why somebody's going to want to buy from you. And you can imagine the shopper clicking add to cart, and then they're going to go through the checkout process, and Tawny is going to get an email saying you just sold these earrings. Here's $64. One of the other things that is an essential on your site is an opt-in form, and this is where you're going to capture the name and the email address of the people who are visiting your site, whether they're buying from you or whether they're just looking. Now, sometimes this comes in a pop-up form. You probably have seen these. Anybody who's on websites is seeing pop-ups that's asking for your address. Some people think that these are annoying, and I would agree that at times they can be, but I'll tell you, if you've got a pop-up function, you're going to capture more addresses. It's just true. You can adjust the pop-ups to maybe only trigger once somebody has been on a site for 30 seconds or more, that it won't continue to trigger while they're on the site. Maybe it'll only show up once a day. It's going to capture their IP address and only show up to them once a day. So you can adjust that so it's not totally annoying. But let's look into this form here. And this is Patty Griffin. She's a California potter who's got a very big list, and she's very good at marketing. And her pop-up has a picture of her work. This is really charming. She's giving them reasons. These are incentives to sign up for her list. So you want to tell not you want to tell people you're going to be a VIP. You're going to get some special benefits. This is a reason why you're going to want to sign up. You want to hear from me. Special announcements, previews of new work, workshop openings, the first look at my latest release. Maybe you'll offer special discounts. You might offer free shipping on orders. So these are all reasons that people will want to sign up and take advantage of getting on your list. Then you'll want to set an autoresponder that says, welcome, thank you for signing up. You're going to be hearing from me once a month. And then that'll enable you to continue on with your online marketing, bringing those people back to your website again and again, and eventually closing sales with them. Let's take a look at your online presence in general. Whether you are on a third-party platform, whether you've got your own website going for you, every single website is a work in progress. It means that you're going to be working on it from time to time. You can always drop back in there, improve your art website, change some of the features, pull products off as they sell, upload new images. So it is going to be something that you're going to work on a continuous basis. For you as an artist making decisions about where you want to be and how you want to sell, you really need to learn about your options. We've taken a lot of looks today at different sites, different models, where you might go, what their pros and cons are, and ultimately the decision that you make is going to be the one that fits your art business the best. I really encourage artists to understand and commit to managing their site themselves. It's not that hard. Sites are very intuitive these days. These tools can be mastered. And if you can go into the back end of your site and make changes or improvements and not have to call up a webmaster to do everything, that's going to be to your benefit. I really want to see you keeping your website current, keep it updated, add new work as you create it. It's going to help your searchability. It's going to help your website ranking. It's going to give people something new to look at. So don't create a website and then abandon it. Go back in and add things as they happen, and as perhaps events are happening and you've got a list of shows that are coming up. And when your shows are back on, then you're going to be keeping that updated month by month. And also keep in mind that there's nothing that's going to serve you better than communicating with your customers. Those all-important customers need service, they need attention, they need your care and follow-up, and that's always going to be the case whether you're selling in person or whether you're selling online. Thank you for joining me for this presentation about selling art online. I hope it's been useful in giving you information about next steps and how you can improve your business and generate additional sales.